Okay, in this video, we're going to go over some of the tools on Desmos you're going to need for this unit. So the first thing you should do is go to desmos.com and we're going to open the graphing calculator. Once you're in here, we're going to create a table and we're going to find the total of the y values of that table. So the first thing that you need to do is define the function. In this case, we're going to define the function to be f of x equals x squared plus 3. Now, anywhere that you want to use this function, Desmos will know that this is what you're referring to. And if you had a different function, you would need to name it with a different letter. For example, if you wanted to find the value of the function when you plug in 3, you would write f of 3. And Desmos knows what that means is to plug 3 into the function named f. What we're going to do today, though, is create a table. So the next thing you'll do is add a table. In the table, you have the x column, and then you have the y column. What we would like to do is have it evaluate the function in order to create the y column. We're going to leave this x sub 1. This is just a subscript. The 1 in this case kind of just names the x as being this is our x1. If we had a different set of x's, we would call those x2. It's really just an index, a name for the variable and not any kind of numerical meaning, the fact that it's a 1. I'm going to change this to say f of x sub 1. And the way that I wrote that was the key that's right next to the 0, which allows you to write a subscript. There's also probably a way to do it if you go through the keyboard down here, but I don't know that off the top of my head. Now, when you plug in x values, it will evaluate those for you. So you can see right here, when you plug in -2, you get 7, and you know that because it shows up right here on the graph. Since we're going up by 1, we can just plug in the next one, -1. If we just start hitting enter, it guesses the pattern and it continues to do it for us. So now we have all the numbers from -2 to 2, and this is what they are evaluated to be based on plugging it into the function. Say we wanted to make a table that goes up at a different rate. So we would start table again. Now we have x2, as you can see, because this is going to plug in these different x's to make a different table. And this will be important later. So now, to evaluate this function, we want Desmos to plug in the values of x2. Notice when I just quickly typed x1, it did what I had from before, but that's not what I want anymore. I want it to plug in the values of x2, and I'm going to give it those values. So now I'm going to start at -2. Then I'm going to -1.5 because I'm going to go up by 0.5. Now already I hit enter, it guessed the pattern, and I can just continue hitting enter until I get an answer, an x value of 2. So now I have this new table here. So notice both of these tables, the points are right here on this graph because I'm creating a table from this function, equation, table, graph. But in this case, I went up by 1. In this case, I went up by 0.5. One of the things we're going to use a lot in calculus is this total function. So if you type the word total, Desmos will calculate all of the sum here of all of the y values from the table. So first I'm going to find the sum of all the y values from my first table, which means I want the total of f of x sub 1. And that's just telling Desmos that that's the table that it should look at and the column that it should look at. If you just did x1, it would give you this left-hand column. So you want f of x1, so you get this column. I also can find the total of the y values in the second table. And again, I want the outputs, so I want f of x sub 2, and the total of all the y values in the second table is 42. During class over the next few days, you'll see why and how this can be really helpful when we do calculus.